Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to Double9Radio. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Double9?
How am I? Should I tell you?
Sorry? Did you tell me? Of course.
Oh, my word. I know my listeners are going to say to me, Double9, you're always excited when you have a guest on the show. But what can I say? I have amazing guests on the show. And today is no exception. I have an amazing, super talented, beautiful, very intelligent. Oh my gosh, I need to stop now because I might just go on and not do the show. But welcome to the show today. Glad to have you on the show.
Fantastic. Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. I hope I deserve it all.
Yes, I'm sure
it's amazing to be on the show.
I'm sure you do. But I'm sure my listeners are wondering, who do we have on the show this evening? Who is this lovely lady with a soft voice, with a very respectable voice on the phone this evening? With a beautiful voice as well, I must say. Ladies and gentlemen, she's got great skills. But I want to say welcome to the show again. Can you tell us, who do we have on the show this evening?
My name is Crystal Emmanuel, also known as CrystalKing.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one and only Crystal Emmanuel, CrystalKing. How are you today?
Thank you so much. I'm really good. We've got over the whole Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, everything shutting down at the same time the last 30 minutes.
I know.
And yeah, we're still alive.
I know.
So we can live without social media.
I had to send an SOS out there because I said, I'm having a queen on the show this evening. You must get everything back up, and they had to respond because I was so upset. Like, why this time? But I'm glad everything's back up now.
I know, just our luck, but hey, we got it back up in time and we're good to go. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show.
You're most welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier as well, you can call us direct on the phone lines. It's 074-956-36899 or send a text or WhatsApp or even call us via WhatsApp as well. Okay, Crystal, thank you again for coming on the show. I'm sure my listeners are wondering, Crystal, the King. CrystalKing. Who is this amazing person? Crystal Emmanuel. I mean, if I were to ask you, who is CrystalKing or Crystal Emmanuel, what would you say?
I would say that I am just a woman existing now, trying to live my best life and be the best version of myself. Very creative, love life, and yeah, I'm just me. I don't really have an answer. It's a question that everybody should have the answer to, but it's just such a difficult question when somebody asks you, who is Crystal Emmanuel? Who is CrystalKing? I'm just me. I'm just here,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say, you know what? She's being very modest there. She's just me. Like, she's not the normal lady. She's very industrious. She does a lot of things. I'm sure we're going to find out as we go through this interview this evening because she's quite amazing. She's quite talented as well.
Thank you so much. Do you know, I think we are all a different person to every different person that we meet, if that makes any sense. So there's so many levels to Crystal Emmanuel and CrystalKing and the different things I do each day. So I just think I'm going to let the audience decide who I am to them by the end of this interview because,
fantastic.
Everybody will take something different away from me, I think.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, I do agree. I mean, I think a lot of people would listening in this evening will take a lot of things or learn, from you that things can be done. Nothing is impossible in CrystalKing's dictionary. Again, I mean, I want to say a big thank you again for coming on the show. Okay, you gave us a brief, description of who you are. We didn't really get too much about it because because maybe you do a lot of things and you're quite successful in a lot of things as well. But I want to know, as CrystalKing, what inspires you?
What inspires me? I'm quite inspired by just daily life. Like, I'm quite an observer. I'm a creator. I really do sort of draw in a lot of things. Like, everywhere I go and everything I do, I'm always drawing things in for like a sponge and analysing everything. So I could literally get inspiration from an old lady sitting on the bus doing some knitting.
Wow.
I'm quite inspired by people. Which is why I do so much and I work with so many different people, especially women and like youth. I find those two, not to say that men aren't inspiring also, they definitely are, but I have sort of like a passion for those groups of people. Quite inspired by anyone who sort of just gets up and gets on with their dreams, their visions, their goals, and doesn't really allow external circumstances to sort of restrict them from doing the things that they want to do. That inspires me a lot. But yeah, I just sort of just draw from my day to day and try to get inspired by, you know, life and nature and the things around me.
Amazing. That's really good. I mean, we will touch on the fact, you know, the point you made there about, you know, being of help to people, helping people, inspiring people as well, and being inspired by people. I think that's fantastic. I really possibly would be getting to that point shortly. But I want to know, I mean, as CrystalKing, you know, I mean, now you do a lot of things, you know, which we'll get into as well. But before you became this person who wants to help people, who wants to create, who wants to do things, you know, what kind of jobs did you do in the early part of your career?
Oh, wow. Right at the start. Let's go way back. Well, I mean, at the beginning, I guess I did what everybody does when they first leave school. So, first of all, you have this wonderful, I can't remember what it was called. Is it your prospectus or something? It's like a book that has all of your certificates that nobody has ever looked at in my whole lifetime. But, you know, when you leave school, you're told that, you know, you take those grades, you put them into the book with your certificates, and you put together a CV and you give it out to everybody that you can give it out to, in terms of like, just go around giving out your CV, try and get a job. So I did that first of all, because it was just the generic thing to do, and all my friends were doing it, like, oh, we're going to try and get our first jobs. So my first job was actually in Hamleys, which is the toy store in Regent Street.
Okay.
And I gave my CV to them, and they, poor things, they thought they should take me on. So I worked in Hamleys. That was my first job. And I did quite a bit of retail at the beginning, again, just because that was what you were told to do, like give your CV into shops and stuff.
Yeah.
This is like 6 weeks holidays when you've first broken up from secondary school. So I did retail for a little while. I did everything from House of Fraser to Hamleys to Gap, and I absolutely hated it.
Oh my gosh.
I just didn't like retail. Even though I ended up getting some good stores at the time, it was just so, I guess it's just a thing where all it required me to do was to stand in one place or move around and talk, and just, you know,
I know.
Fold clothes.
I totally agree with
nothing
you.
Creative.
I know.
Nothing creative.
I have been, you know, I mean, this is a fact. You know, anyone listening to this evening, it's your lucky evening as well, to find out that Double9 has actually worked in a retail industry as well. You know, in my early years of school and of university, you know, I worked at House of Fraser. So I honestly know what you're talking about, because you're just standing there and trying to smile at people and trying to get them to purchase,
and they're not smiling back.
Yes.
Not necessarily smiling back.
Exactly.
And it was very uncreative. I was just like bubbling up at the surface, wanting to do something creative, which probably was annoying to them, because I'd probably like fold things in a way that they weren't supposed to be folded, because I thought it looked better. Or I just tried to do things that were interesting, that were not part of my job description, and people would just be like, "Can you leave that and go back and fold the trousers?" So yeah, it was interesting. But I never really lasted in any retail job, to be fair. So the only good one was the cinema. I worked at the cinema, and I used to eat all the popcorn, so that was fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about your creative side, which is amazing, because a lot of people do have certain creative sides, but never take that step because of some certain fear, or, you know, some certain not having the right encouragement to go forward and take that step into that creative field. So when you did decide to say, you know what, Crystal's here, CrystalKing is coming, I want to do something inspiring, I want to do something creative, I want to show my skills to the world. When did you decide that it was time to get into that creative space?
So I know this interview is about business, but my first creativity obviously came from me doing music, being a singer. I played so many different instruments growing up. I did percussion, I did piano, I did keyboard, I did, oh my gosh, what else did I play? The violin, I did the violin. I played so many different instruments growing up. I was in choirs, I was in a gospel choir. So I was very creative. I thank my mum for that. She put me into a lot of extracurricular activities.
Amazing.
She clearly must have seen my need to Express or something. So I did do a lot outside of school and within school, and that's what started my creative juices flowing. I used to love writing poetry, creative writing, all of the stuff I do now in a more professional capacity. I enjoyed doing when I was younger, acting, performing arts. So that's where it started. I guess in terms of transitioning that into the business world. I had started doing modelling at a certain point, and I was travelling sort of between here and New York doing some stuff to do with modelling and music. I was actually getting modelling gigs here mainly, and then I was going to New York to try and kind of get into that side of it as well. A lot. I just met years and years of doing that. I met so many contacts and connections from within these industries. So from photographers to actors, models, actresses, singers, creatives, photographers, videographers, all those people that I met, I loved taking a business card. So I had like stashes and stashes of business cards. And then one day I was just like, working out what I was going to do when I got back from New York, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start a business. I was about 21. I'd been working in promotions. I've been working in like events and promotions for quite a while. So I guess I just had this huge stack of business cards of people that I'd met over the years that I'd never called them again. I'd never, tried to figure out how I could utilize this business card and turn it into something. So I had this stash of business cards, and then I also had the experience with working in promotions and events. At the time, I was doing a lot of, I was working for bigger companies doing like celebrity events, VIP events and stuff like that in London. When people would fly into London to do their concerts, I'd be working on doing the VIPs and the after parties and the guest list. So I kind of meshed the two together at some point, and I just said, I've got all these connections in events. I've got all these connections who are sort of creatives, etc.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do a business that incorporates the two, because I already have these tools, as opposed to just starting something randomly where I have no basis of which to, spring from. So yeah, that's how Celebrity Creations Management was
and this
born.
you're 21 years old. You were 21.
I was when I read Celebrity Creations Management. When I first said, okay, I'm going to do this, I registered self-employed and was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And yeah, I was about, I think 2021.
Amazing. I mean, at that age, most ladies are looking at, doing their hair, doing the nails, having that boyfriend, doing all that girly things. But here we have CrystalKing looking to start building an empire. I mean, that's quite amazing. I mean, do you remember what year?
Thank you.
What year was that first business established? What year was that?
I believe it was. No, I don't remember. I'm going to get it wrong. I don't remember. I can look it up because I've got it written down somewhere, but I don't actually remember exactly what date it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite amazing because you had this vision. I mean that business still exists still today. You had that vision to look at how you can harness all the contacts you've made over the years. I think that's really great. I mean, you mentioned earlier as well about your passion for helping other people. You talked about, it inspires you, people inspire you, and also helping people to be inspired to come out of their comfort zone and achieve things, regardless of whatever situation they can be in. I mean, what drives that passion?
Absolutely.
What drives that
passion? Definitely New York. Like when I left college, instead of going straight to university, I was like, I'm going to take a gap year and I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to just find myself. And I went out to New York, and I was trying to work on the music and the modeling, but it was also, I went for like 3 months. So it was also a period of time where I was just going to kind of be independent, which I hadn't really ever done. I hadn't just gone off somewhere and been completely independent. So it was a bit of a, I'm not sure everybody, I mean, what age do you leave college? I think I was around 19, 20 at this time. So I literally, or about 19, I said, I'm just going to go to New York by myself. Wow. 3 months. And my mum said, sure, go ahead. She's probably thinking, yes, get out the house. No, I don't know. But no, my mum. I think my mum kind of. I'd done so much. I guess all the extracurriculars and all the traveling to sing and do all these different things. I had already had a taste of independence, where my mum was usually with me for all of those things. So she literally came with me to everything. Thanks, Mum, if you're listening.
Thank you, Mum. Thank you, Mum. We love you, Mum. Thank you.
She's in the kitchen saying, yeah. Does she appreciate it? No, but I do. But so yeah, I think she kind of trusted in my ability to be, a logical young lady when I go and fly out to this place and do what I have to do. And she was literally on tap the whole time. But yeah, I think it was New York that sort of really, really led me to understand that anything is possible, because it's just out there they've got this whole sort of hustler's mentality, this American dream, and everybody can, anything you want to achieve can be achieved. And I always thought that was a movie thing, but when I actually got there and I started to meet people and go to networking events and stuff like that, it was really like an energy. So many people had that energy. It's like it was just like everybody was doing something. Wow. Everyone I met was like, "Oh, you from London? What you do?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this and this and this, and let me connect you to that designer." It was literally like, sorry, the accents will start to come. But yeah, I told you, I warned you about the accents. But people of so many different age groups. It didn't matter what age they were and what sort of, whether they were male or female, everybody was on something or into something or creating something and inviting me to this event and that art gallery. And there was just so much going on, and literally everybody seemed to be doing something. And that was so different. It kind of, I related to it because I was always doing something. And I guess in London sometimes I didn't find those sorts of people around me much. So I probably would have continued maybe just working in retail or something, because that's what everybody around me was doing. Got to New York and it was like retail, schmeetail. I was like, okay. So yeah, it was definitely a very inspiring place for me.
I mean, I want to say, at 19, you had the confidence to leave your house and go on into an adventure, where you never knew what you could expect.
I must say, I had been to New York once before for 2 weeks, so it wasn't completely out of. I wasn't completely sort of like, had never been there before, but it was the first independent trip that I took.
Yeah, but
just to interject.
At age of 19, 20, it's still, a big thing to live home, to leave the protection of your mom, your house, and just go over there into this jungle, I should say, where you don't know what's happening. Because yes, New York, everyone wants to be like, everyone is like fast. It's always like, everyone's saying yes, there's a dream, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things happening at the same time. They never sleep, and you went there. It's quite amazing. I think it's a great thing, Mum, let you do that, because look at today. But I mean,
no, definitely. So I did have two friends from London who were doing similar. So it kind of, I guess we went at different times, but we always sort of met up in between our trips. And okay. I think that obviously, that probably gave my mum a little bit of security, that I would have people there sometimes as well. And then each time I went, I met more and more people, and it just became easier and easier over time. The first trip, I must say, was sort of like the scary one, because it was like, okay, I'm doing this. But I don't think, I look back and I think, oh gosh, how scary. But at the time, it just didn't hit me as anything out there at all. And to be fair, I probably had about 400 pounds.
Wow.
when I got there, and was just like, well, I'm going to have to stretch this out and grow it. So yeah, that was when I went for 1 month, but it was one of those things where I was prepared, I was ready to go, and I was just like, I'm going to make this work. And if I can't make it work, I'll come home.
That is amazing. I think that's a great story. A story of determination and braveness, to say, you know what, I'm going to make it work. That's great. So is this what inspired, the other should we call it an organization or the business that she inspired her? Because you talk about
Yeah.
helping people, regardless of whatever situation they're in, to be able to understand they can make that right step and, to bring them up out of any kind of a low self-esteem state they might find themselves, to empower them.
Yeah.
Is this what
Yeah.
inspired she inspired her?
I established sheinspiredher.com it was actually, I've got the date here, it was the 17th of November 2010. So this was me wanting to be a blogger, and just like the initial idea was I want to be a blogger. I'm going to create a blog, and I'm going to call it She Inspired Her, and I'm going to just write inspiring things for women, and they'll read it and be inspired. And then also, hopefully, I'll be able to interview women, and they'll be able to inspire me and my audience. That was sort of my original idea. And I actually, because you told me beforehand that you'd asked me about She Inspired Her, I pulled up my first ever post.
Oh, wow.
Can I read you what it says?
Of course.
It's the first post on the 17th of November 2010. I said, each one can teach one. I said, I believe that we are all here to be a learner, a teacher, and an inspiration to one another. Everyone, regardless of their age, race, or background, has something that they can teach someone else. So as you go through life's journey, remember this. Take an interest in the people you meet, listen closely to their messages, and remember to leave your imprint on them also. We are all amazing people with a meaning and a purpose on this earth. So bless you all for coming into my life and teaching me, and I hope you will also take on my teachings. Crystal Emmanuel, She Inspired Her.
Amazing.
So that gives you a glimpse into where I was at that time. I was very much like a happy-go-lucky, everything is wonderful, let's inspire each other. And I literally, that was kind of where I was. And I wanted to start this blog and just literally post messages like that all the time. It did evolve into something else, though, over time.
Tell us, we're intrigued, we want to know.
Yeah, so originally I thought that, because I loved creative writing, I thought that I would just keep creating all these posts and just a regular blogger, just create these posts and try to inspire people along the way. But then as time progressed and I started to tell people about it, and obviously with Celebrity Creations Management, I was sort of working with speakers and female athletes and female sort of creatives and just all these women in business, people who own their own brands and stuff like that. It completely just became me being inspired by them and wanting to put them onto the platform so that they could inspire others. So I thought if I still would put a creative feature here and there, or an inspiring article here and there, but it really became, I started to interview a lot of women in business, many of whom were not actually, they didn't really have a platform to actually promote their services, promote their products. A lot of women had sort of got into entrepreneurship around that time, and they were like, I'm going to start my own business, I'm going to sell my own products. They put a lot of money into it, they created these great products, got their branding together, and then they realized, I don't know how to get this out there. There was a situation where many people didn't have, like, websites were not, like today, everybody has like 5 websites each. But back then, it was like, it was really hard. A website was like $1,000. It was like, or more. Like now you could get one for $250 if you're lucky, if you find somebody who's a web designer and happy to do it. But back then, as a small business, it was like $1,000 plus $5,000, depending on who was making the website. So they didn't really have anywhere to sell their products. They didn't really have their own blog. They didn't have a database. And I sort of had all of these things. So I was like, I could start to pitch this as a service. Like, I'll interview you on the blog and then we'll market your product to our audience. And I had readers and I had a database. So we'll send a mail blast to them about your product and send them your interview and a link to find you or whatever. So bit by bit, it started to become a platform for women in business, female entrepreneurs and female students, and just providing opportunities, interviews, inspiration, and also job vacancies was a big thing. Like, we started to post job vacancies for women who were looking for work alongside women in business, and that really took off as well. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm blown away by your vision. You had this vision of being part of people's life to inspire them, and from that you created something amazing. From just a
Thank
blog,
you.
and you looked at what other areas. I think you're an innovator. You move. With ahead of the time, not with the time. I think that's quite good. That's quite good. I mean, so
Thank you.
if you look back, since the inception of, She Inspired Her, what would you say has been your main achievements so far?
So if She Inspired Her, obviously it's been 11 years now
Wow.
since I wrote that first blog post. And the way that the platform has catapulted into something completely different has blown me away, because that wasn't actually the original vision, And, there's a saying that they say, just take the leap and grow your wings on the way down, sort of thing. And I think She Inspired Her was that for me. I just took the leap. I said, I'm just going to do it. Even if nobody reads it, hopefully they will. Let's see what happens. And then, as you say, as time progressed, I just grew my wings, and, new things came about and opportunities came, and I kept my eye out. And, I was someone who would take action. And I think that's all it really takes, is just make sure you take action on whatever you're thinking. The thoughts are always there, but I was just acting on them. And everybody that came to me, I was like, yes, of course I can. Yes, of course I can. Sure, I don't see why not. And, where things made sense, I just said yes. And that was all that really led to She Inspired Her being where it is now, which is that, as well as being an online platform for women in business, female entrepreneurs, and providing all of that content online for them, I've expanded into being a CIC, social enterprise, where I'm now giving back and working with, or I have been for a while, but now as part of the CIC, I'm giving back to young women and doing mentorship training programs, providing guidance for young women, training in marketing and PR, events and music. And just really, it's led me to be in a place where now I can actually give back to the younger generation coming up in the same way that I was coming up, and provide resources that maybe I didn't have or that were available to me and I used, and I would like them to see that those things are available too and
Amazing.
use them. So
Amazing. I'm really blown away.
yeah.
I'm so blown away. I'm thinking to myself, why would I had you on the show for a long time? I guess because you're always busy. We've been trying to get you on, but I do understand. But I'm quite glad.
Thank you.
I'm quite glad we could get you on. So I just want to go back to the earlier point you made as well about inspiring people and helping people come off that comfort zone to achieve. One thing I just learned that you just said now was we all have thoughts, but it's the actions that matter, and I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. We look at a lot of women have a lot of thoughts about starting a business and trying to achieve things, but sometimes find it difficult to take that action. From your point of view, how do you bring that positivity, from within women, because you're trying to inspire women to do things?
I just think, sometimes everybody sort of has these thoughts and these dreams and all the rest of it. And sometimes all that's lacking is, or the reason there's a lack of confidence is because nobody around them has done it. So it's not relatable to them to think that they could do it too, which is kind of like the example I gave about New York. It was when I was around people that were doing it that I was like, this is so possible. And because I'd be around these people, I'd see the process wasn't that difficult. They were just taking action. That's all they were doing. There was no difference between them and me, other than the fact that I hadn't taken any action yet and they had. And I think when it comes to doing the mentoring, when it comes to doing the training, the internships and all of that, these young women, they come in and their first thought is, oh my gosh, this is so scary. I've never done anything like this. Mm. And then, as an employer or as a mentor, I'm always quite open and just, you can tell me anything, and I give them a certain energy that makes them feel comfortable to ask me anything, which I think is very important. Sometimes you go into, for example, if you go into like the corporate world and it's your first, your first day or something, people's energy that they give to you is pretty much, I'm up here and you're down there, right? So immediately you kind of, most people, unless you're already someone who has that extra buzz within you, that extra, something in you, just falls into place and says, okay, well, he's the boss, I'm working for him, so whatever he says, I do. And they don't necessarily try to, perform outside of what they've been told is their place. Yeah. Whereas when I have ladies coming down to the office or working with me, it's a completely different energy that I give them. It's like, we are in this together. Your ideas could actually be better than mine. So feel free to tell me what your idea is, because if it's great, I'm going to snatch it up too. Like I just feel like when you're teaching young women about confidence, or women of any age about confidence, sometimes it's reworking what sort of for example, the school environment has taught you. So when I went to school, it was very much, good morning, class. Good morning, Mrs. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, today we're going to do this. And it was very much sort of like respond when you're spoken to, and, very, I don't know, there's no real independence. You just do what you're supposed to do, which is fine. You're learning what you have to learn. But I think there's a mindset that comes with that.
Yes.
And then when you leave school and you go to college, and then you leave college and you go into the workplace, it's sort of like you've been, for 18 years, you've been taught to follow a certain way of a certain mindset. So it's about sort of breaking that a little bit and saying, well, actually, if you want to step forward and be your own boss, you can, and actually giving them permission to do it, which sounds really silly. But I think in most of my experiences, that's what has made them click and say, amazing. Okay, so I can actually, yeah, exactly. So it's a bit of a mindset shift, I think. That is the main way of breaking that sort of lack of confidence, because it just comes from not knowing that you can.
Amazing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side to find out more about our serial entrepreneur who has a lot of businesses and doing great things in the society. Stay locked on, stay locked in. Trust me, you don't miss the other side of this show. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Welcome back. It's Double9Radio. It's 1856 at 1903 2021. We have the amazing, the queen, the intelligent, the soft-spoken, but very determined individual, lady, queen, Crystal CrystalKing. Welcome back to the show.
Hello. Wow, soft-spoken. That's a new one. I didn't know I was soft-spoken. I'm one of those people. I don't like to listen back to my voice, but thank you. I appreciate that one.
You're most welcome. I mean, giving us a lot of insight into your journey, which is quite inspiring to listen to it. I mean, one of the words you mentioned this evening is we all have actions. Sorry, we all have thoughts. I mean, I got that back the other way. We all have thoughts, but it's the actions that really matter. I mean, it's where
action.
Yes, is where a lot of people struggle. To do it, because we're always thinking we want to be a millionaire, but how are you going to get there?
Yeah, I'm still trying.
What actions are you going to put in place to ensure you achieve or you take that initial first step? Hopefully, you can't learn more inspiring things from our amazing guests this evening on Double9Radio. Okay, let's talk about the amount of businesses you have at present, because it's just grown, isn't it? You started with the celebrity one, you created she inspired her, and now you have other ones as well. I mean, how many businesses do you have at present?
I don't know how many businesses I have. No, literally, it's so funny because Celebrity Creations Management is the umbrella business to everything. So Celebrity Creations Management is like the hub. It's the overall, and then all of the event brands that I've launched come under Celebrity Creations Management. So it's an event PR and management agency. So everything comes underneath that agency, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So it's not like I created. So, for example, the Pamper Sessions, one of my events, that event is an event brand that comes under the Celebrity Creations Management Events Agency. And that is one of my main, I would say that is one of my main events that I run annually. Obviously, in the last 2 years, well, yeah, we all know about COVID, so I don't need to go into it. But yeah. I haven't been able to actually put on one of those. But in general, the Pamper Sessions, it's a beauty, fashion, and wellness show. It runs 3 times a year, and it's a place where grassroots businesses, grassroots brands are actually able to sell their beauty, fashion, and wellness products to an audience. We have about 40 brands under each event, and they come and they showcase, and people can come and try out their products, and it's a platform for them to be able to actually sell and showcase what they're doing within their businesses. So that happens 3 times a year. I'd say that's one of my main ones. Mm-hmm. And then off of the back of that, I launched Beauty in Dubai, which is basically a beauty and wellness professionals retreat to Dubai, very much linked to the Pamper Sessions. Again, it's beauty, fashion, wellness. Okay. And that's an event where after the show, I fly beauty and wellness professionals out to Dubai for a 5-day program where they can network with other beauty professionals and wellness professionals from the UAE and also from around the world, all flying into Dubai for those 5 days. And on the 5-day program, we attend trade shows, consumer shows, we have networking events, all sorts of things happen across the retreat. We also have a wellness program where each day there's different wellness activities taking place. My mum works in wellness, so she comes down and she provided her wellness services from her company Anchor Place in last year's one. So yeah, it's those 2 are pretty much, brother and sister under the umbrella. And then the most recent is Vision Wharf Studios, which is a photographic and filming studios that gosh, I'm out of breath, that I am the co-owner of with a guy called Dwayne Patrick, who's a producer. So the 2 of us relaunched that recently, and we're literally just taking it to the sky. It's based in Canary Wharf, and it's a great place to come and film content. And content is key right now. Everybody needs content. Course, yeah. So we saw the need for quality content from a lot of the clients that I have, and also clients that he has. So we've come together to create the content space in Canary Wharf for all businesses to come through, and content creators, and capture the best content possible for their platforms. So yeah, that's the exciting venture of the moment, Vision Wharf Studios.
Amazing. I mean, you almost ran out of breath there. Telling us about all the businesses that you have.
I never have to speak about it. I just have to do it. I'm used to taking the action, but not talking about it.
Of course, take the actions. But I mean, I kind of wonder, all these businesses you have. I mean, a lot of people even struggle to even, provide top-notch services for one business. Mm-hmm. But you have various businesses, all the under one umbrella, as you mentioned. But I wonder, how do you manage these businesses without compromising, services or quality?
So I guess the clever thing about it is that Beauty in Dubai happens but once a year. It's not every single day of the week that I have to work on Beauty in Dubai. It's normally sort of 3 to 6 month promotion schedule that I will put together to sell out that event and have it work within 6 months. Same with the Pamper Sessions. I have a formula for the Pamper Sessions. So I've been doing the Pamper Sessions for years now. So there's a formula that I've created. I've got templates literally for the shows, like, okay, 40 vendors. This is going to be the pricing. This is when I need to sell them by. And it's all about sort of structuring it out, and it's going to, and then taking the action. Literally, if I sat down and thought about it all and said, okay, I'm doing this, and literally thought about it all, I would not do it because it's too much.
Yeah,
but
I can imagine.
Just taking sort of structuring it out, creating a formula that works, and then just following that formula every time you do it is how I've managed to be able to do it and not, let one event step on the toes of the other, because if I focus on the Pamper sessions on the Tuesday, and then I focus on Beauty in Dubai on a Wednesday, and then I make sure, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is just celebrity communications management, then I've got a plan. And it doesn't always work out like that. I would be lying if I said that it's always been that way.
So what kind of challenges have you had to deal with, because I'm sure there are challenges, because when you're running multiple businesses.
Many.
That's
what I was about to say. Like, don't believe for a second that it's been easy, because it definitely has not.
I can imagine. Even one in a business, just one, can be quite challenging. But now we talk about 4 or 5 businesses, and you're still growing as we speak. So I mean, what kind of challenges have you had to come across? Had to deal with?
I've had many. I would say my biggest mistake, if we want to talk about a mistake to avoid, was being a yes person. So just sort of saying yes to everything and yes to every idea in my head was not the best method. So at the beginning, I could have sort of just tried to work on one project at a time, get that to a certain standing, and then move on to the other project. But I do think it's something to do with my character as well. Like, maybe there's just, everybody's different, and in me there's this thing where if the idea hits my brain, I need to do something about it. I at least have to write it down. I've got like notebooks of ideas that I still haven't done, and then it will just sit in my brain, like just agitating me, and I just have to take action on it. And that probably wasn't, as I say, that wasn't the best, because it meant that I would just be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I would do them all, and then I'd just become stressed out. So that's when I learned. It took me many, many years to learn this formula that I talk about, of trying something out a few times, working out the best way to do it, and then always sticking to that formula for that particular event, and having a time scale, and then just literally following each event. And each brand I have now has a formula.
Amazing.
And yeah, that's the best way to do it in my experience. But I do know that everybody's different. So what works for me literally won't work for another person, and vice versa.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're quite right. You have to have a formula in it, and you can't say yes to everything. I think that's another point you made this evening. I think that's a great advice, because we all have ideas in our head, but thinking about the idea, analyzing the idea to know what are the benefits if I actually go into this, what are the return on investment. We have to ensure that we're actually getting it right before we actually go into, because it could end up in a loss. Yes, sometimes we make a mistake and it ends up in a loss before we actually realize, okay, this is the way to go about it. But also, we have to make sure we minimize the losses, so it doesn't just drown us into debt as well, which is quite amazing. So what?
Absolutely. And I was just going to add a point to that.
Yeah.
This is my third photography studio, and I would say it's my third attempt at a photography studio. So it's not like I just woke up one day and was like, I'm going to start a photography studio. No, I've had 2 before this, and a recording studio, and they didn't go as well as I wanted them to, because I didn't have this formula. And it's like now, because I've done those 2, and I didn't do so well with those 2, but I did well in some areas. I've worked out what works and what doesn't for me to make this new one now work. So I think it's important that I mention that, because sometimes you have to fail a couple of times or work out what went wrong in order to relaunch, come back, do it again, and make it work.
100%.
With formula.
Yes.
That word formula.
Yes, that word formula as well. Formula is very important as well. I mean, ladies, I hope you're taking notes, because she's amazing. She's just giving us great, advice and great nuggets this evening as well on how you can be a serial entrepreneur and start making those big bucks. She's not telling us yet, where she is at, but I'm sure we shall be seeing her maybe in Forbes very soon. Who knows?
Who knows? I think I've missed the under. What is the one that they do? Is it the under? They've got like a certain segment, like under 35. I think I've just missed that one.
Is it? I thought you're still 21. Oh my word. Okay, sorry.
So I'll have to be in the next segment now, but hopefully Why not?
Okay.
Leave that on my board.
Fantastic.
Thanks for putting it in my head.
You're most welcome. So I apologise of that technical glitch there. I do apologise for that. We're back online now. As you know, technology has been a funny one today with Facebook and Instagram all going down. Decided to come and affect us as well. I do apologise on that as well. We still have our amazing guest here this evening, the one and only CrystalKing.
I'm still here.
Fantastic.
I am still here. Listen, the airwaves could not take the energy and the power of the conversations we're having. It's all good. We're back.
It's all good. So yeah, before we actually got caught off, you're going to tell us what the vision is. You know, what your vision is for the next 3 years.
Yeah, so as I was saying, lockdown really gave me some perspective and some time to think and to stop. It forced us all to stop. And when you stop, you breathe and you think. So that was actually a necessary thing in some ways. And now that I've got everything sort of to a level where I'm happy that it all runs smoothly and I've worked out the formulas for each business, I think now it's time for me to really decide which ones I want to continue with in terms of them being a part of my legacy, because some things I'm doing, you know, some parts of my business like sheinspiredher.com is very much something that will be, I hope, a part of my legacy and something that I've done with a passion for women and young women. But then, you know, there's other parts, I won't say which ones because I don't want to disrespect my poor brand, but some of them I think are more sort of just for money. You know, you're working, I've been freelance and self-employed forever, so it's like some things I created just to make money and to make ends meet every month. So could I let those things go? So the vision now is to just really push She Inspired Her to another level in terms of being a social enterprise and, you know, securing opportunities where I can actually work with young women on a larger scale. So at the moment, I work with maybe 3 young women maximum at a time, and it's all me. So it'll be great to be able to bring in other people to the foundation, bring other people into the organisation to work with young women who can teach them more than I can as well, from different areas, especially things to do with like financial independence and things like that. And yeah, just really to take that to another level. She Inspired Her is definitely a strong focus of mine now. And then with the other businesses, I wouldn't stop them completely. I would have sort of, I have ideas to bring in, you know, others to help manage those brands, or maybe potentially sell some of those brands on in the future. So yeah, it's just to stay on She Inspired Her. I think that's the main one that is in my heart at the moment.
Amazing.
And to just take it to another level.
Amazing. I think that's really good. Absolutely good that, you know, because it identifies a part of society that maybe a lot of attention is not paid to, you know, because you know, female empowerment is very important. It's very important, especially, you know, in what we see in the news, how, you know, I love women, you know, women should be celebrated. Women are amazing. I think women should be given as much opportunity as men as well. But why do you think it's necessary? Why do you think it's necessary to actually empower women now and for the future?
I think it's always been necessary to empower everybody. But I think, you know, women, it's a difficult one because so many people have so many different opinions. And obviously we all want equality for everybody, men and women, etc. But I think the reason that it's so important to really focus on the empowerment of women, for me personally, is that you know, there's so much that comes from women. We are the givers of life. First of all, let's just throw that in there. Yeah. But also, you know, we have the power to do so much, and we have a lot of empathy and creativity, and, you know, there's so much that you can tap into from a woman, and feminine energy and all of that, that if it's not nurtured and if it's not given direction, could just be sort of not wasted or not used, because women don't know that they, you know, over time and throughout society, where women have been sort of oppressed or held back or not given those big roles and all the rest of it, there's a sense of a lot of women still, even today, even though it sounds crazy, feeling that there's a place that they should be in society. And so it's just about I think it's not just about young women, it's also about the older generation of women who still have those thoughts and values, letting them know that even whatever age you are, you still have a chance to sort of break barriers that you never broke when you were in your 20s or in your teens, and take it to the next level. So I think it's very important to break those cycles. I think the young women coming up from the younger generation, seriously inspiring, like a whole different level of young women coming through. I mean, I work with a lot of young women and they surprise me all the time. I have a sister who is, she's like 15, and just a whole different level of confidence, knowledge of self, the ability to see what they have and just use it immediately, and it doesn't matter what anyone else is saying. There's a lot of older women who could actually learn from young women now. And that's why I say each one can teach one. I don't think it's all about an older woman teaching a young woman. I just think there's so much empowerment that can come from both directions, that can really lead to the status of women being completely different. And women are the future. I'm saying it now. No disrespect to any men.
I heard that.
No disrespect to any men, but I think empowerment right now is very important, so that we can make sure that women know this, and that they go and get everything that is owed to them and that they deserve.
Amazing.
It's very important.
It is important, and I would agree with you on that one. That yes, they need to be empowered and give it a chance. To come out the comfort zone and, take action in chasing or making the dreams a reality. I mean, you mentioned 2 points there. You mentioned the barriers and chance, which makes me think of certain things we hear in the media, some of the things we hear in various communities. I mean, I want to get your point of view on this one. I mean, do you think women or young ladies from black or ethnic minority backgrounds have less of a chance at success and also access to opportunities for youth development?
Well, if there's 2 questions there. One is, do they have less of a chance? And what was the other one? Do they have a lack of opportunity?
Yeah, for youth development.
Right. So I think in terms of chance, we all have the same 24 hours, and we all have the same amount of chance. But opportunity, I feel like there is a lack of opportunity in certain areas. But having said that, you described me, a young black female, ethnic minority. I don't use the term ethnic minority, but a young black female, and I've been able to achieve. And I just think it's about being in the room, having the right people around you, being given those opportunities, and being able to see that those opportunities are there. So it's quite, there's so many answers to that question, but it's like more organizations and more initiatives need to be created to let them see that they have the chance and the opportunity that you speak of. It's not the fact that it's not there or that it doesn't exist. Maybe it hasn't been created in these environments and in these spaces, and that's what needs to happen. So in areas where people are, where they're underdeveloped, underprivileged, I don't know what words you want to use, all of those people have a chance. They just haven't been given the chance that they have, if that makes any sense to you. So I never believe that I never believe that a chance isn't available, isn't in existence. I just feel like the chance hasn't been given, and we need to find those people and give them the chance. And then they'll do it. I think, and then they'll do it. Given the chance and the opportunity and the know-how, it will be done by anybody in any circumstance. We just need to give it to them.
I mean, okay, you're right. You take the chances there. When you get given a chance, make use of the chance, take the action. You have your thoughts, take the action and do what you need to do. But you're a successful entrepreneur. You're doing great things. You have different businesses. You're still growing, doing amazing things with us. She inspired her brand as well, which I think is quite remarkable. But what challenges have you encountered, being a woman as an
Many. I mean, I was talking about this the other day because I was part of a series for something called the New You Project, and we were talking about women in business, and they got some speakers in. They booked some speakers from me, and I was a speaker, and it was all about women in the workplace and the challenges that women face within the workplace. It's International Women's Month as well, so Happy International Women's Month to all the ladies listening. And, you know, we discussed, you know, what comes up, whether it be the corporate world or in the business world. And for me, I think a great example was that recently obviously I did this partnership with Dwayne Patrick, who's a male, and on the female side of the business. And there was a situation where we were all in a space, and it was predominantly males, and I was the female in this space. And I think, you know, men were especially interested in speaking to Dwayne about the business side of things, and they naturally just went to Dwayne to talk about anything business, and I'd just be sitting there, and they'd know that we were in a 50-50 business partnership, but they wouldn't necessarily speak to me about the business. And I found that throughout, this is just a recent scenario, but I found that throughout business, throughout my life. So it's like, I think when it comes to women in business, we network, we talk to each other, and we see each other's value immediately.
Yeah.
But I feel like men in business tend to not see the value of the women in business in the room. They naturally just gravitate towards speaking to the man of the partnership, or speaking to you know, male figures in the room, but with this belief that that person's going to be the person to speak to, when I could actually be the investor that's going to change your life in the room. So I feel like those conversations are really, really amazing to have. And that series is called The New You Project. When it comes out, it will be really good to look that up and hear the women's perspective. There was also, I booked in Anika Allen, who works at NatWest, and she was speaking about you know, how workplaces and corporate environments can actually be more inclusive. She's the head of diversity at NatWest.
Okay.
So she's someone who can really, you know, she gave a really good perspective on how you can actually be more inclusive in the workplace and things like that. And, you know, I think what we learned as well from a lot of the male perspective was that they don't necessarily always realize that they're doing it, or they're just doing it by nature, but that's something we have to break. So I've gone off on a tangent here, but yeah. I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah, I can hear the passion in that as well. Maybe it's a topic we should maybe address at some point as well, because I think you're quite right. It can be a subconscious thing. It could be, you know, the society as well, where people have grown up in certain, you know, from different backgrounds to actually see women in a different light, or it could be other factors as well. You know, so.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Most of the people in that building were complimentary to me as a female, but then when it got down to talking about business, they wanted to talk to somebody else. And I think, like I say, it's one of those things where if you did do a show on it and brought in both male and female perspectives, it would be absolutely amazing, because it's a conversation that needs to be had and heard.
Amazing.
For people to understand.
Okay, maybe we'll get you back on that one then. Maybe we'll get you back.
I'll be very happy to join.
Fantastic, I know you will. Okay, let's go to some of the questions that come in for you this evening. First, I will read. Let's read a comment. This is a comment. This is from Baron. Baron says, "Hey CK, I'm locked in, and great work. What you do. You're a true inspiration, not just to the ladies, but to the gents too. Amazing. You're an amazing soul, and you have not even started yet. Big love, sister. Your number one fan, Baron." Thank you, Baron.
Baron! Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
I love it. Okay. I know exactly who that is. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, so that's Baron. Okay, we have another one from Stacy. Stacy says, you know, why do you think fewer females choose to become entrepreneurs compared to males?
Males, did you say?
Sorry, I missed that. No, why do you think fewer females choose to become entrepreneurs compared to males?
Again, I think it just goes back to sort of like societal views and what has just been happening over centuries, and breaking that mold. I think if more people knew they could, more people would. And I think in time we will see that even up greatly. I know I work with and know so many women in business. There's so many that people don't even know exist. which is why the platform's there to kind of put them out there and let people see that it's happening. I think the more that people see that it's happening, the more women will take the plunge and we'll see that balance up. So, yeah, I just think it's about not knowing that it's possible or, you know, not seeing enough of it to feel like you can do it too. But that will change. I see that changing rapidly.
Okay, you know,
in years to come.
Crystal has said it. It's going to change rapidly. Okay, another question.
Thank you for your question.
From Grace. Grace says, "How do you cope with the fear of failure?"
How do I cope with the fear of failure? Feel the fear and do it anyway. I mean, that's a great book. You should read. There's a book out there called "Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway," and it's literally that. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Okay, so all you have to do is know that fear is, you know, it's a mechanism within yourself that wants to save you and stop you from doing something because it's worried that something could go wrong. But, you know, every day we step outside the house, something can go wrong, but we're still going to step outside the house. So apply that to whatever you're feeling fearful about, and if you've got a passion for it and it's safe to do it, then go ahead and do it. Feel the fear, do it anyway, and then see what happens. What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
You fail and you do something else.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the best that could happen? You become a millionaire. Come on, let's go.
Come on, let's go. Come on.
Let's go, Grace. Come on, Grace.
Come on, Grace. You heard that what he said. You know, just go for it, isn't it? Okay, we got another one from Joyce. Joyce says, what would you say are the top 3 skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur?
The top 3
skills
needed to become a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think having a plan and have an actual plan is really important. So at the beginning, I was all over the place. Once I had a plan, things were easier to do because I knew step by step what the plan was. A good thing to do is look at the end goal and then work your way back to today and how you're going to get there and then follow that plan. So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend. A second skill would be to just always be learning. So I've done so many short courses, online courses, attended seminars and all those sorts of things over the years to just continuously be learning and reading books and ebooks and listening to audio books and podcasts, like just forever be learning, because technology is moving at a rapid speed, and what's needed for business in the last 10 years you'll have seen how different it is marketing a business 10 years ago and marketing one now. So move with the times, move with the technology, don't be afraid of change. And then the third one, which isn't really a skill, but it's a necessity, is to just believe that it can happen. Like, believe in the vision. If you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it. And that's it. Just go for it. Take the action.
Okay.
Have a formula. I say the same things because I really do believe that these things are what has made me make it work.
Amazing.
So,
I like this question. This will be the last question I'll ask. I'll say thank you to everyone who sent any questions. We have possibly addressed some of these questions as well. I like this one. This one's from Kemi. Says, how do you achieve a work-life balance?
Femi, if you know, let me know, please. I think you just have to make time for yourself. I do make time for myself. For example, when I do the Beauty in Dubai retreat, the guests come for 5 days, but I always book myself an additional week because I know that it's going to be hectic. And when all the guests leave and I'm stressed, I've got a week to myself. So it's like plan ahead ways that you can, this is coming from an events manager perspective, I know how hectic certain things are going to be, especially that like 2 weeks before the event and the event stage, always hectic, always stressful. So I've always pre-planned a week after it to go to the countryside or go on a holiday or something. And I just think work-life balance is difficult to have in this day and age where we're having multiple streams of income and, we're trying to set up a website for every single thing that we have and an Instagram for everything and then a Pinterest and a Facebook. And there's just so much to do that you just have to find a way to balance it. And you have to consciously decide, okay, I'm taking a break. Okay, I'm for 5 hours on this day, I'm going to, or an hour here, or whatever it is, whatever time you think you have, And another thing is never to go along with this idea that I just don't have the time. Oh my gosh, I used to say that so much, and it was true because I said it. And then when I decided that I needed to have the time, I found it.
Amazing.
So just find time to have a work-life balance and force it, because otherwise you'll get taken away with the amount of emails in your inbox.
Okay, amazing. Okay, on that note then, I want to know something exclusive that no one knows about you. This question. What is a fun fact about you?
A fun fact about me. Oh my goodness. I have several personalities that have different accents. I told you this yesterday. No, I don't. I have one personality, but I do go off on tangents in different accents. And anyone who knows me knows that I do that. I think I did it once in this show. I've been able to keep them at bay. But yeah, that's a fun fact about me. I like doing accents, you know.
Oh my God. I think you have to bring them out. You have to bring. We want two accents from you before you go. Before we say goodnight to you this evening.
Oh my! Oh gosh! I don't know if I'm good at doing things on request, but yeah, maybe. Normally they have to be brought out of me. You see, they don't. They just pop up when it's time. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Fantastic. I mean, it's been amazing to have you on the show. I've had such a great time. Getting to know who the real Crystal Emmanuel is, the CrystalKing.
Thank you.
As well. I've really had a great time. I mean, for all the women or ladies or men, and we had a man, sending a message as well and say you're inspiring to them or to us as well. What was your message to them? What would you like to say to them this evening? The part of the message to them.
I think something that I've learned is that everything you are is exactly what you need to do the things that you came to do. We've always had this idea that what we need is external or outside of us, so we have to go and find it or whatever. But I really feel like if somebody picked me up and placed me in the middle of somewhere else, not here, not home, not where my businesses are, and popped me in there and said, "Off you go, darling," I think I've still got everything in me to create everything I've created there. So you don't need anything external. You have everything you need within you right now. All you have to do is open yourself up to that and keep an eye out for opportunities that will help you to grow what you already have.
Amazing. You couldn't have said it any better. I totally agree with that.
Thank you.
You all have what it takes.
Yeah, already. From birth, it was in you.
It was
and it still is. No matter what you've been through or your circumstances, it's still there.
Amazing. I mean, do you want to share your Instagram handles for anyone who wants to reach out to you and follow you as well?
Yes, please. I could do with a couple followers. So everything is at CrystalKing. So Instagram at CrystalKing, SoundCloud at CrystalKing. I have a Clubhouse account and I barely got any followers. So please, guys, jump in on my Clubhouse. It's at CrystalKing. And yeah, you can find me at CrystalKing and most places, Twitter as well. And please do check out sheinspiredher.com and join us. You can get opportunities into your mailbox every single week if you just sign up on the sheinspiredher.com page, which is free to do. And if you are a woman in business who has some amazing services that need to be seen by the world, please do get in touch so that we can get you onto the platform and start promoting what you are doing in the world as a woman in business.
Amazing. Crystal, Emmanuel, CrystalKing, it's been amazing to have you on the show. It's a privilege to be able to
Thank you.
hear and get inspired by your story. I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much.
And I'm looking forward to get, more and greater things from yourself.
Thank you so much. And I was going to say as well, sorry, if people listen back through the interview, I did 3 accents. I thought about it and I did 3 already.
Did you? Oh,
I did an American one. Yeah, I did. They're in there somewhere. Go find them. They're in there.
Okay. I'm sure we're going to replay the interview. The replay will be on our YouTube channel as well.
You have to go to double9radio.com.
Amazing.
Listen back.
Fantastic. Crystal, it's been amazing. It's been wonderful to have you on the show this evening. I can't wait to have you back as well. And I wish you greater success in the future.
Oh, thank you so much, Double9. And thank you for having me. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. It's been a smooth interview. I felt comfortable the whole way through. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Kind words from yourself. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care. Speak to you soon.